Welcome back, listeners. Today we're going deep into A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini.
A powerful choice. It really pulls you into the lives of women in Afghanistan.
Yeah, two women in particular, Mariam and Laila.
From very different backgrounds.
But their paths end up converging.
In Kabul, no less.
And throughout this deep dive, our mission
is to understand the core of their story.
Without giving away any spoilers.
Right, so listeners can still experience the book fresh.
Exactly. So let's start with Mariam. That opening line. Mariam was 5 years old the first time she heard the word harami.
It's like a punch to the gut right from the start.
It sets the stage for a difficult life, yeah.
That word harami, it means illegitimate child.
And it hangs over Mariam's entire existence.
She grows up isolated in a small kolba with her mother, Nana. Nana's pretty resentful, and Mariam craves acceptance.
Especially from her father, Jalil.
Who only visits her on Thursdays.
It's like a tiny sliver of hope in her otherwise bleak world.
He fills her head with stories of Herat, making it sound magical.
With bazaars and beautiful architecture.
Oh, and he describes his cinema in such vivid detail.
Almost like she could step right into those stories.
But for Mariam, it just emphasizes how different her life is.
Yeah, how limited her options are because she's a harami. Then, her 15th birthday comes along.
And it's a turning point for the worse.
Jalil makes a decision.
A decision that changes everything.
He marries her off to Rashid.
A much older shoemaker in Kabul.
That decision really highlights the power dynamics at play, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Jalil, a wealthy man, worried about his reputation.
And Mariam bears the brunt of that.
It really shows the limited choices women had back then.
Now, let's shift gears a bit. We move on to Laila, and it's a different Kabul years later.
Yes, Layla's childhood is starkly different from Mariam's.
It's still overshadowed by war.
But there's a love for learning.
Her father, Babi, encourages her education, her dreams.
He paints a picture of a progressive family.
It's like a breath of fresh air compared to Mariam's upbringing.
But there's always this sense of unease.
Because of the conflict, right?
Exactly. That constant threat of violence adds another layer to their story.
And then tragedy strikes. Laila loses her brothers to the war.
It's a devastating loss for her and Bobby.
But even amidst that, something beautiful emerges.
A love story with her childhood friend, Tariq.
And they dream of escaping the turmoil.
Going to America, maybe settling near the sea in California.
It's a powerful dream.
A yearning for a life beyond conflict, a life where they can truly be free.
But as we know, fate often has other plans.
A rocket attack changes everything.
It leaves Laila vulnerable and facing an unimaginable choice.
A choice that ultimately connects her to Mariam.
And that's where their lives truly intersect.
Yes, both women end up under Rashid's roof.
And there's immediate tension, right?
Mariam, hardened by years of hardship,
sees Laila as a threat.
Another woman competing for Rashid's limited attention and resources.
And Laila?
She can't quite grasp Mariam's stoicism.
Her quiet acceptance of her fate.
It's a clash of personalities, of different upbringings.
A generational gap playing out in a very tense environment.
But this initial friction sets the stage for a truly profound transformation in their relationship.
Exactly, and we'll dive deeper into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned to see how these two women's lives intertwine in ways neither could have imagined. You know, as their relationship develops, you really see how Afghanistan's turbulent history shapes their lives.
It's not just a backdrop, it's a force.
Like with the Soviet invasion.
You'd think that might bring some positive changes.
Especially for women.
There was this initial hope, right?
For progress and maybe even freedom.
But it quickly unravels.
The country descends into chaos.
And we see that play out through Layla's experiences.
Her carefree days vanish.
Replaced by fear.
Bombings, loss.
Her school is bombed. Friends are killed.
She even loses Tariq, her beloved.
It's just heartbreaking.
It really underscores the devastation of war.
And how it disproportionately affects women and children.
Absolutely.
Mariam, who's already endured so much,
faces new challenges.
Food shortages, constant fear.
A growing sense of isolation.
It's like her world is shrinking.
And she finds solace in Jalil's stories.
Those tales of Herat.
A way to escape the present.
To hold on to something beautiful.
It shows the human need for hope, even in the darkest times.
Then, the Taliban rises to power.
And things take an even darker turn.
It's a turning point for the worse.
Their strict interpretation of Islam leads to brutal oppression.
Especially for women.
Girls' schools are shut down. The burqa becomes mandatory.
Women's freedom is completely curtailed.
It's devastating to see how quickly progress can be undone.
Laila, who had dreams of a brighter future,
now faces a life of confinement.
Her education is halted.
Her dreams with Tariq shattered.
It's a stark reminder of how vulnerable women are during times of extremism. Even Mariam, who's known hardship her entire life,
Faces increased humiliation.
public beatings, constant reminders of her status as a harami.
That scene where Rashid forces her to wear the burqa,
It's just so symbolic.
it strips away her identity, reduces her to an object.
But even in this oppressive environment,
There are glimpses of resistance.
small acts of defiance,
Their bond deepens.
their commitment to motherhood, their quiet rebellion.
They secretly teach Layla's daughter, Aziza, to read and write,
They share stolen moments of laughter.
refusing to be completely broken.
It's a powerful message.
The human spirit will not be dominated.
Even in the darkest times, hope and the will to resist persist.
It's truly inspiring, and it's not just the plot, it's how Hosseini uses symbolism.
Yeah, it adds so much depth to the story.
The kolba.
It's more than just a house, right?
Exactly.
It represents Mariam's isolation,
That stigma she carries as an illegitimate child,
the limitations placed on her.
just because she's a woman.
Then there's the burqa.
Oh, especially under the Taliban.
It becomes this symbol of silence.
Of being invisible, erased.
When Rashid forces Mariam to wear it,
It's such a powerful scene.
it's like he's taking away your voice.
Her very identity.
But then you have those fireflies,
A glimmer of hope.
those little sparks of beauty.
They represent resilience, you know?
That connection between Mariam and Laila
Their refusal to give up.
and the pomegranate tree.
Yeah.
First, it's a symbol of life.
Fertility. Mariam's longing for children.
But then, after her miscarriages,
It becomes a reminder of loss.
of that societal pressure to be a mother,
And when it's destroyed in the bombing,
it's like all their hopes are shattered.
the fragility of life laid bare.
It's these symbols that make the story so impactful.
They connect us to the characters on a deeper level.
Make us think about the bigger picture.
The societal forces at play.
A Thousand Splendid Suns is a truly unforgettable story,
It challenges you, it moves you.
and ultimately it leaves you with a sense of hope.
It reminds you of the strength of the human spirit.
So if you haven't already,
Pick up a copy
we have a link in the show notes.
and tell us what you think.
Share this deep dive with your friends.
Let's keep the conversation going.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
For more deep dives into captivating books,
Until next time, happy reading.